has been a pain in my side ever since I moved into the neighborhood. I moved in about 1.5 years ago, and I bought a fixer-upper house. So I had to do a lot of renovations. I had to redo the bathroom. I had to redo the kitchen. I had to knock out a wall to make the living room bigger. There were a couple of Saturdays where I had to just have those 2 Saturdays workable because I had a pool built in my backyard, and so then
Are you allowed to do construction in your town on a Saturday? That's my question.
Yes, on a Saturday I'm allowed to, just not on Sundays.
Okay.
Again, since I moved in, it seems like he had a problem with me just when I started.
What makes you say that he had a problem with you?
He would always, when I first met him, he was really just trying to come and tell me all the rules of the neighborhood and, you know.
Like what?
Oh, you don't have too many cars, the noise level for this, make sure you take your trash cans in at this time. I like to host events, and especially since I have my pool in my back, I would host a lot of events. And
how many people would you have over?
I would say about 10 to 20 people.
Okay.
Every time I would host an event, he would find some kind of way. At first I would see him and it's like maybe looking out in the backyard, or find some way to be in the backyard, and then all of a sudden he would have to mow his lawn. And after the third time, I asked him, I'm like, hey, you know, I've noticed that you seem to be mowing your lawn every time I'm throwing an event.
All right, and what was it? It was a baby shower?
So it was a baby shower for one of my closest friends. The child is my godchild. And so it was, of course, a little bigger than my usual events, maybe about 40 to 50 people.
Okay.
And I had a lot of things going on. I had decorations, of course. We played games at the baby shower. I had games and prizes and everything. And I had a DJ, and I had food catered. There were a lot of things I paid for, Your Honor. I'm just asking for the money back for the DJ and for the food because
what?
Because it was ruined by him mowing his lawn at the particular time that I was having my event. I previously discussed with him that when he mows his lawn, the pollen, the grass clippings that comes over, our gate is only 3 feet, so it all comes over to my yard. He waited until I put the food out in the backyard, put everything, all the food out, and then moments later.
You had texted him that morning and said, can I see the text? Do you have the text?
I do, I have the text.
Yeah, let me see, I want to.
So when I listen to this case, I'm actually wondering which one is the Karen here. It's either her or him. I feel like you can't have both, but if you do have both, this is going to be an interesting case. What do you guys think?
Hi, Dave. I'm going to be hosting a baby shower in the backyard today, 12 to 5. I would really appreciate it if you would not mow your lawn during that time. Olivia, I will see if I'm able to accommodate that. I also have plans today and cannot guarantee it'll work with your time frame. Okay, I would really appreciate it. It's a very important day. Then at 1:11, Dave, I'm asking you again, please mow your lawn at a different time. It's causing grass clippings and pollen to get into my yard while I'm hosting. Thank you. His answer, Olivia, sorry if it's an issue for you, but just like your construction bothered me at times, I guess this bothers you. Sometimes as neighbors, we just need to put up with things. For example, I put up with listening to your home construction on the weekends. To which you respond, I had a feeling you were intentionally doing this because of my construction. Wow.
Yeah.
Were you?
So this guy's definitely spiteful, and potentially there's some other reasons why he's doing this and mistreating her, which is wrong. Because this lady here is trying to do some nice things, some family stuff. She's trying to build something for herself, and this guy has decided to be spiteful, almost as if he's jealous that she's got a pool in the backyard and she's doing all this construction, and he's just got grass to cut. I feel like this guy's the problem. And the fact that he was spiteful, I hope he has to pay. But what do you guys think?
No. It's
How mad can you get over someone doing construction? It's kind of that's kind of permitted, right? Like, I know how deafening and annoying and everything it can be, but if it's within the parameters of whatever your town permits, then you really have no. What is it you want her to do? Not construct on the place?
No, absolutely. There are totally times and regulations for when she can construct, and she was doing that Monday through Friday. When it started to bleed through the weekend, that's when I started to have a problem with it.
Well, here's my question, though. She says that in her town she can build on Saturdays. Some towns you can't, and sometimes towns you cannot. Do you have any evidence to suggest that she cannot, or any copies of any laws to suggest she was violating anything? Did you ever call building and zoning and say, hey, illegal activity next door, construction on a Saturday? Any of that ever happen?
I just didn't understand why it needed to when it was going on for a year
Because
already.
sometimes you're not in control of your construction. Right. Have you ever done any construction?
So Mr. Dave Brown here, what a hoot he is. I have a feeling there's some potentially reasons why he's not so nice to this lady, which is wrong, and we can always spend countless hours talking about that. But what's really, really strange about this, and this is something that I hope none of you guys get mad at me for, is although it's annoying and yes, her baby shower maybe was ruined, but I have a feeling that there's not really a legal basis that he can't cut grass, just as much as he's annoyed from her doing construction. He can't just all of a sudden be forced to not be able to cut his grass. Now, she can say, hey, can you not do this? But he can also say no. So I don't know if there's really a legal stipulation for him here where he's going to have to pay. Now, some of you guys may not like to hear that, but I want to hear, do you guys think that he's going to be forced to pay? Because I don't think that he has to legally be liable because his grass clippings landed in the Chipotle dinners that everyone wanted to eat. I just don't think that there's anything that he can do about it because, hey, you could say, well, I was clipping my grass. This is the only time I can do it. I do it this time every single weekend, and there was wind that day, and so it just is kind of like a freak accident. But if they end up making him have to pay, I definitely also disagree with that. I think he's wrong for what he did. I do think he was spiteful. I do think that he maybe made a mistake doing this, but I don't think that he necessarily did anything that's like illegal. Just as much as he can't tell her to not do the construction, she can't technically tell him not to cut his grass. So we're going to see how Judge Milan navigates this. Hopefully she does it in a good manner, but we'll see. I do feel bad for this lady here, though. I do believe that she deserves something, but it's really hard to get her anything when, you know, he couldn't stop her and vice versa. So what do you guys think?
No, let me tell you how it works. They say, I'm going to be there on your birthday, and you say, thank you, sir, may I have another? That's kind of how it works. So sometimes you're not really in control of that kind of thing, all right? But in any event, and I say this, my father was a contractor, my brother is a contractor, and I have had both my father and my brother do work on my homes, and it was hard. And those are people who ostensibly I can control because they're my father and my brother, and it's just hard. This is a tough industry. Too many moving parts.
I totally understand that. My grandfather built houses on his own. I totally get it.
Okay. So, was she throwing loud parties?
They weren't loud, but they would happen, and they were on the weekend. That's also my only free time as well, and I enjoy the upkeep of my home.
Are you allowed to mow on Sundays?
There's nothing against mowing on Sunday.
It.
No.
Okay. Are you allowed to mow shirtless? There are some towns that prevent that.
There's nothing against that.
And that's something. All right. She had texted you and said, I'm having a party. The neighborly thing would be to wait until the next day to mow your lawn, right? It's not that hard. Why was it that hard for you?
I had already had set plans for the day for the weekend that I was dealing with. If she had texted me well in advance, especially for a baby shower, like that seems like such a huge event that could have been told to me a week, a month in advance, and I would have been able to feasibly move around things to make sure that wasn't going to happen. But to text me a couple hours before it happens, when I've already had things I was going to be doing that weekend, it made it far harder to accommodate with what she wanted from me.
Do you think she's inconsiderate of you?
I think she's inconsiderate of most of our neighbors.
Because of the construction?
A lot of it, yeah. I mean, it just went and was incredibly loud, waking up to drilling and hammering and digging in the backyard.
But she has a right to beautify her place. It makes your property value go up. So, you know, I mean, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Sometimes that takes long, but you mad at her because of the construction?
This was never a repercussion of the construction. When I said that it was an example, it was an example. Sometimes those things happen on the weekend, then I want you to know that when I'm going to mow my lawn, it's also going to be on the weekend.
Okay, how do you figure that I should make him pay $832 to chip in for the baby shower that you threw because the guy did what, mow his lawn?
Yeah, he mowed his lawn.
But isn't that a risk you run when you have a garden party and you ask the guy, hey, don't mow your lawn, you inform the guy, please don't mow your lawn between these hours today, I'm having a party, like, you know, you don't have a right for him not, just like he doesn't have a right to stop your construction if it's legal, you don't have a right to stop his mowing a lawn. That's a risk that you run when you throw a party inches away from his lawn, right? So if you don't like the noise or the clippings, then you take the party inside.
Sure, Your Honor, but at that point, he, like I said, as soon as I put the food out, he has a long lawn, Your Honor. He could have started at the total opposite end of his lawn. He starts right near the food, Your Honor. Like,
were your people there yet?
Yeah, my people were there, and he
Okay.
starts right near the food. And so one of my guests went to go get some food, and it had grass clippings all over it.
Don't put the food so close to the next yard.
Well, you know, where we sat, I felt like where I sat the food.
Here's a problem. He thinks your
intentionally-
property belongs to him, and you think his property belongs to you, and you're both wrong. Each of your properties belong to you respectively, okay? Because each of you have a right to make noise on your property. Each of you has to tolerate the noise the other person makes, unless it exceeds the boundaries of the law. Like, you're not allowed to construct on Sunday and you're doing it. Or like, you're not allowed to mow after midnight and he's doing it. Those are the only things you have rights to complain about. Anything else is stuff y'all got to work out among yourselves. And if no one's being neighborly and friendly, for example, you're not giving sufficient notice because you weren't organized enough, you're not requesting the right way because you catch more flies with honey, right? Mm-hmm. You know, if that's the way it's going to be, then these are the results you're going to get. You know, y'all have to look. You better buy 20 acres somewhere if you don't want neighbors, because until you do, the plane doesn't belong to you. So if a baby's crying, shut up, okay? And you know, his property doesn't belong to you either, and your property doesn't belong to him. You have to learn to coexist, okay? So no, he's not going to pay for part of your baby shower. Not one part, not another part, not any part. And let me tell you that I'm not stupid. I kind of think he might have done it on purpose too. And I think he might have done it on purpose because he doesn't like how you spend a year and a half making noise with no warning or anything else, working Saturdays without telling him, hey, I'm really sorry, the pool guy has to come on Saturday. And then you send him a text at 8 in the morning and tell him, I'm going to need you not to mow between 12 and 5. Yeah, that may be what set it off. Verdicts for the defendant.
All rise.
Judge Millian has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim is denied.
Glad the judge was able to make a correct decision on this case.
It's not hard to be a good neighbor. It's not. And I don't know what his problem is, but I hope he gets over it.
Well, the case went exactly how I had predicted. But there's one thing that Judge Milan said that it made me think, it had me thinking, okay? Which is, she decided near the tail end of the case, saying, you're not going to pay, I'm not going to force him to pay, but I'm also not stupid. I also do believe that he did it on purpose. And what's really interesting about that is, doesn't that make him liable to pay for it? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, if the judge believed that he did it on purpose, he tried to ruin the baby shower, then wouldn't that make him responsible? And let me just give you an example. If he, instead of cutting his grass, decided, I'm going to go and grab my hose to my house and just hose down the whole party. I'm going to spray down their food, I'm going to spray down the tables, I'm going to spray everybody. That would probably ruin the party. Okay? That would probably ruin the baby shower, and it would be a whole thing. Then she would sue him for the cost because he intentionally did something to stop the party. Then she probably would have forced him to pay. But in this situation, I'm kind of thinking to myself, well, then what's the difference? just because he's saying he mows his grass and he's all good, you can't force him to not mow his grass. But the judge said that she believed that he did it on purpose. Then why didn't she rule in that way? So I'm really curious why that's the case. Because if she didn't believe that he did it on purpose and it just was like a freak accident, then of course this ruling makes sense. But she truly did say, I do think he did it on purpose. I do think he intentionally tried to ruin your baby shower. So what do you guys think? Do you think that he should have paid? Do you think he should have been responsible? Because now I'm kind of starting to think that there might be a little bit of a revisitation needed for this case. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think he should pay or not?